Dwight Gooden burst onto the MLB scene in 1984 at just 19 years old. He was a power pitcher who struck out over 11 batters per 9 innings as a teenager and ran away with Rookie of the Year. He finished second in Cy Young voting and honestly probably should have won it. As good as he was in his debut year, it paled in comparison to his sophomore season. In 1985, Doc won the Cy Young Award through 16 complete games, had 268 strikeouts, 1.53 ERA, and an ERA plus of 2.29, all at only 20 years old. Gooden's 1985 season, how can I put it into words? It was elite. His bWAR is the highest of anyone in the last 100 years. Look at this list. Tim Keefe, Old Hoss Radburn, Walter Johnson, Silver King, 13.3, 12.2 pitching, and 1.1 hitting. If I sort it based on people under the age of 21, he's second behind Silver King, just ahead of Kid Nichols from 1890. 1890. Think about how long that is. The light bulb and radio were not even invented yet. It's been a long time. But it was the offseason of 85 where Doc would first try cocaine, and that would change everything. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The guy had every opportunity in front of him, but alcohol and cocaine clearly affected his career and nearly cost him his life. But I'm not recording this video to smear Doc. His story is worth retelling. Yes, he's had an incredible battle with addiction, but he also survived a horrific event as a child. And I think we all know someone who has been or is an addict of drugs or alcohol, and I have a lot of compassion for people fighting addiction. But before I get ahead of myself, let me rewind and touch on Dwight's early life, because it's important to understand his childhood and how it shaped who he became as an adult. Doc's father, Dan, was a great influence in his life. His father loved baseball, and when he wasn't playing the game himself, he was coaching Little League. His father dropped out of school in the 3rd grade to work in the cotton fields. He learned to read and write and never stopped learning. He eventually worked for Cargill in southern Georgia when he was transferred down to Tampa Bay. Dan Gooden loved Florida. Baseball was everywhere. This was 1956, so the color lines in Florida were still solidly drawn, but Mr. Gooden loved being around all the minor league games and spring training. Dwight was born in 1964, the baby boy who followed 2 older sisters. As Dwight said in his autobiography, which is a great read, by the way, quote, "My mom loved having a son, but my dad was like a shipwrecked sailor who'd finally been rescued." I love it. Love that line. This is not the story of a baseball star overcoming an awful father like some of my previous episodes on Thurman Munson or Around the Floor. No, Dan Gooden was a hugely supportive father and influence in Dwight's life. When Dwight was 8 or 9, his dad's softball team would let him play in their games. His dad was continually encouraging Dwight's athletic pursuits. It was around this age when one of Mr. Gooden's friends would come out to see Dwight pitch in Little League and give him the famous nickname. He'd start to yell, "Operate on him, Doc. Time to operate, Doc." And then after a strikeout, as the next hitter walked to the plate, "You got another patient, Doc." It stuck. People started calling him Doc, then Dr. D, and finally, Dr. K. It was around this age when Dwight's sister, her husband, and Dwight's nephew moved in with him. A little boy you may know named Gary Sheffield. As Dwight says, it unlocked a new level for him. Now he had a 24-hour baseball teammate in the house. Again, from his book, Dwight said that they played a game all summer called Strikeout. Doc would pitch a tennis ball to Gary, and Gary would strike out. Over and over and over and over. That is, until about the time where Gary was 11 and Doc was 15. Gary started to hit, and then he would hit bombs, sometimes over the house. So Doc would drill Gary with fastballs to the ribs. I love it. I suspect both kids ended up getting something from the game. Sheffield obviously went on to hit 509 big league homers with a .907 career OPS in his career. But at an early age, Doc's dad recognized both kids had talent. Doc had incredible arm strength, and long before current training methods were known, his pops had him doing long toss and abdominal workouts, trying to strengthen his core. Mr. Gooden also designed hitting drills specific for Gary, recognizing that his strength was at the plate. Kudos to Mr. Gooden and his coaching. I hope he took a lot of satisfaction when he got to see both boys make the major leagues. All that said, Mr. Gooden was not without his faults. He was a drinker and a womanizer, and early on, Dwight saw how great, loving people can sometimes do reckless, self-destructive things. Some foreshadowing there for you. And now, a word from our sponsor. Kingsford, the first grill to come with a doctor's recommendation. Dwight, Dr. K. Gooden, all-star pitcher and barbecuer with the new Kingsford Pro Grill. The best slider in the game. The Pro Grill's slide-back lid keeps your hands free to execute your barbecuing game plan, and its wide oval shape allows for all-star indirect cooking. The new Kingsford Pro Grill. Kingsford, what the pros use. Back to our program. When Dwight was 5 years old, he and his 18-month-old cousin Derek were inside playing. Dwight's 20-year-old sister Mercedes was watching them. Suddenly, her husband comes crashing through the door with a gun. He was known to have a violent temper, and anything could set him off. With Dwight and Derek just feet away, the husband opened fire. Bang, 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 bang. 5 shots to her head and chest from 2 feet away. Dwight picked up little Derek and ran to the bathroom to hide, obviously terrified. Dwight said he assumed that the husband would find them in the bathroom and shoot them too. They hid for half an hour before police arrived. Dwight's mom got word. She got in her car and hunted down the shooter and shot him herself. The guy went to prison, and incredibly, Dwight's sister lived and is still alive as of 2025. Towards the end of Dwight's autobiography, he shares the realization that this tragic event shaped much of his life. I mean, how could it not? His sister was shot right in front of him. You think he received therapy or counseling? Of course he didn't. I can't imagine the psychological damage done. Does that explain the eventual problem with alcohol and drugs? I don't know. But it certainly didn't help. More on this later. For now, let's fast forward to the Mets. Dwight was drafted in the first round, 5th overall, out of high school. It was a surprise to him. The draft wasn't quite the animal that it is today. He had a scholarship offer for the University of Miami, and his mom wanted him to go to college. But he just could not turn this down. When I was thinking about how this played out, it might have been better for him to go to college, just to gain some maturity. He was so young. Have you ever been homesick? Dwight shared in his autobiography that when he flew out of Tampa to start rookie ball, he cried on the plane. The stewardess tried to comfort him with pretzels and Coca-Cola. I mean, he was just 17, a kid. In any case, after his first year in rookie ball, Dwight moved up to High A Lynchburg of the Carolina League. And he credits Lynchburg pitching coach John Cumberland for transforming his approach as a pitcher. Cumberland instructed Dwight that to survive in the major leagues, he had to put the fear of God into hitters. He learned the art of the brushback and the occasional beanball. Pitching hard, up and in, opened up his game. His strikeout rate jumped to nearly 40%. But while Lynchburg was a boost to his approach on the mound, the loneliness of A-ball and his first experience with malt liquor at the age of 18 was the beginning of a lifelong struggle. Heavy drinking caused him to miss a team bus that year, a sign of things to come. But even with the personal struggle, he was dominant on the mound. In Lynchburg, he went 19-4, and in 191 innings, had a ridiculous 300 Ks. That's a 14.1 K per 9 ratio. It was good enough for the Mets to accelerate Doc's path. He would skip directly from A-ball to the major leagues for 1984.
Now, let's review this week in baseball's TWIB notes from around the National League. New York Met pitching sensation Dwight Gooden beat Los Angeles for the 3rd time this year with 12 strikeouts to boost his major league leading total to 214. The 19-year-old is only the third teenager in big league history to strike out over 200 batters in a season, and only the 12th rookie to do it. He seems a sure bet to break Herb Score's rookie strikeout record of 245. Goodness gracious.
Now, I've read a lot of autobiographies in my life, and too often they're overly self-serving and narcissistic. Doc's book doesn't read that way to me. For one, he openly talks about his many struggles with drugs and alcohol, but secondly, throughout the book, he credits a number of people for pouring into his life, whether that be his baseball life or his personal life. His manager, Davey Johnson, teammates Keith Hernandez, Mike Torres, and Rusty Staub, and Gary Carter, all had a huge impact on him, and those guys should all be credited. But he clearly had a tumultuous relationship with Darryl Strawberry. It's too bad because I always envisioned these guys as great friends, but clearly it wasn't that simple. At the end of his rookie season, Doc had 276 strikeouts in 218 innings pitched, a 137 ERA plus with 7 complete games. He won Rookie of the Year, and as I said earlier, he finished second in Cy Young voting to Rick Sutcliffe. I'm not going to go through each year of his career, but we need to talk about 85 and 86 specifically. As I mentioned at the start, his bWAR of 12.2 for 85 was record-setting, the highest of any pitcher in the last 100 years at the age of 20. And let's just look at these numbers a bit. He won the pitching Triple Crown, most wins, Ks, and lowest ERA. He was the youngest player to win 20 games, finishing with a 24-4 record. 16 complete games, 8 of those being shutouts, 1.53 ERA, 276 innings, ERA plus of 229. It was truly a ridiculous year. And he received 100% of the Cy Young votes, even with John Tudor having his own career year in St. Louis. The Mets won 98 games, but did not make the playoffs. That would change for 86, and if you're somehow unaware of the 86 Mets, you need to watch the Netflix documentary on this team. They won 108 games in the regular season, beat the Astros in the NLCS, and then the Red Sox in the World Series. You may remember Game 6 of that series, one of the best finishes ever, unless your name is Bill Buckner. The Mets were down to their final out in the bottom of the 10th with nobody on. They got back-to-back-to-back singles to pull within one, then a wild pitch to tie the game when Mookie Wilson's ground ball went through Bill Buckner's legs for the walk-off win. It was a team of destiny. That World Series and the victory parade in Times Square should have been a lifetime highlight for Dwight. But as many of you no doubt already know, he missed that parade because he was strung out on cocaine. I don't want to dwell too much on all of his failed drug tests. He would do a stint in rehab and eventually relapse time and time again. Let's just say he confesses all the ugly details in his book and he makes no excuses. And after reading it, I have incredible sympathy. Nobody wants to be an addict. They say you can't begin recovery until you hit rock bottom, but Dwight hit rock bottom a few times. He lost 2 wives over cocaine. He destroyed his relationship with his kids. He embarrassed his mother and father. He blew God knows how much money, and he traded away what should have been the best years of his life for cocaine. It's really tragic. Somehow, despite all the craziness, Doc managed to keep pitching. In his final year, he was playing for the Yankees. He got a phone call that his father was dying and needed emergency open heart surgery. But he was supposed to pitch that night. He struggled with the decision, but ultimately decided his dad would want him to pitch. That night, he would throw the only no-hitter of his career, May 14, 1996. He flew to see his dad the next morning and gave him the game ball. They cried together. His dad, now on life support, he would die 7 months later.
Lifted in the air, in the infield, Derek Jeter waiting, makes the catch, a no-hitter for Dwight Gooden.
want to explicitly mention George Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner is often maligned, and listen, he's had his fair share of misdeeds. The guy's no angel. But I feel like he should be noted for the compassion and understanding he showed Doc. When Mr. Gooden was dying in the hospital, Steinbrenner postponed a day of meetings to spend hours sitting with him and talking baseball. After Doc's playing career was over, Steinbrenner reached out and hired Dwight to work for the club as a special assistant. He was always in his corner. Even when Doc relapsed again, Steinbrenner gave him every opportunity to right the ship. He refused to fire Doc, giving him a tremendous amount of rope. He tried to help as much as possible, and Dwight is pretty vocal about the gratitude he has for Steinbrenner being in his corner when he absolutely needed it the most. The autobiography I read was published in 2013. Sad to say that Dwight relapsed in 2019. After many years of struggle, relapses, in and out of prison, it appears today that Doc is clean. Let's hope that he can stay away from alcohol and drugs. I wish you well, Dwight Gooden. And if you know or have someone in your life struggling with addiction, I hope you can find it within yourself to give them as much compassion as possible. And that doesn't mean you need to roll over. You need to be tough. But you may ultimately be the reason why this person recovers. Thank you for your time. Take care.
Knew who Dwight Gooden was last spring. This spring, he couldn't turn around without finding a camera in his face.
My dad told me he'll take me and see you guys so I can get some baseballs autographed.
Okay. What's your name?
Joey.
Joey. Okay, come there. Tell me your name. I'll give you a ball, okay?
Okay.
The Mets attracted the biggest crowds they've ever had for spring training this year, and Dwight was the man they came to see. Why? Shea Stadium, September 12, 1984. The sportscaster, Ralph Kiner.
The record. Dwight Gooden has set a new Major League record for strikeouts by a rookie pitcher, and
The only one in Shea that night who wasn't excited was the 19-year-old kid on the mound. He seemed to be saying, "Where's the next batter?"
Drop it. You're still not learning this. Give me that ball. Drop it.